In Westbury versus Sanders, the court testified to the fundamental character of the right to vote when it said, "No right is more precious in a free country than that of having a choice in the elections of those who make laws under which, as good citizens, they must leave each other's right, even the most basic, are not real if the right to vote is undermined." Let's talk more about this with our guest on the program today, a legal practitioner, Osahon Ihenye. He says that the right as an individual to vote is the only way Nigerians can express themselves and change a leadership they are not happy with.
Voting is both a right and a civic responsibility. Of course, it becomes a right if you have attained the age of 18. It becomes your right to vote. And of course, your civic and civil responsibility for you to be part of the governance of your country, as it were. So it's a right and a civic and civil responsibility.
Now, at what point can that right be trampled upon?
Well, you can be disqualified from voting if you are not 18 years and above. You cannot vote. That, to my mind, is the only instance whereby you can be disqualified from voting.
How can a voter's right be safeguarded?
You can go to court to make sure you enforce your right, because voting really is another way of expressing yourself. And you have the right to express yourself as guaranteed by the Constitution in Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. So you can go to court if you are 18 years and above and you're not allowed to vote.
I know that there is the Voting Rights Act in the United States. In Nigeria, do we have any provision of the law that particularly set aside for the voter?
We probably do not have a particular law like the Voting Rights Act, but we have the electoral law, which protects your right to vote. And of course, we have the general body of laws in Nigeria, and of course, the grand norm, the Constitution, which gives you the right to express yourself. Under that provision, you can situate the right of the individual. The voter out there needs to know that before now, he or she ought to have been registered to vote. Of course, also before now, although I hear people are still picking up their PVCs, it's supposed to have gone to the designated points to pick up their PVCs. By that I mean permanent voter's card. And if you have done that, then you get ready for the election day. And of course, generally speaking, nobody should compel you to make up your mind to vote for one person or the other, because you have that right also to wait for the election day and cast your vote for a candidate of your own choice. But be reminded that before now, you're supposed to have registered and picked up your PVCs, because INEC says no PVC, no voting.
People who have been disqualified to no fault of theirs, for instance, if INEC did not print their PVCs.
Well, there's nothing you can do if before now you have not registered, and if before now you have not picked up your PVCs. And of course, I hear INEC has even extended the period for which people can go and pick up their PVCs, I think up to 22nd or thereabout. So you still have the opportunity to go and pick up your PVCs. INEC is the organ of government who has the sole responsibility to organize, to register people, register political parties, and of course organize elections. They have said you must use a PVC to vote, that if you do not have it, you cannot vote. You cannot say you have a right to vote and you have refused to abide by the provisions of the rules and regulations of INEC.
Who decides who gets to vote?
What decides who can vote? The Constitution decides who can vote. The Electoral Act decides who can vote, not who. If you are 18 years and above, you're qualified to vote. The law says if you are 18 years and above, you're qualified to vote. The law says if you are a Nigerian, you're qualified to vote. I'm not talking about naturalized Nigerians. If you are Nigerians by birth, you're qualified to vote.
So naturalized citizens cannot vote?
That is the position of the law.
Why?
Because you are not a Nigerian by birth.
But they live in Nigeria.
Well, you live in Nigeria, probably it will need a special dispensation based on how long you have lived in Nigeria. If you were born by Nigerian parents and you're born in Nigeria, being a Nigerian is not only about being born in Nigeria, as it were. If you're a Nigerian by birth, you're a Nigerian parents, you're qualified to vote, and of course, you're also qualified to be voted for.
So if you were born in the United States and you have Nigerian parents?
Of course, you are a Nigerian. You are a Nigerian.
So
it's not about where you were born. You become a Nigerian by having Nigerian parents, Nigerian lineage. Your forebears were Nigerians. Your father, your mother are Nigerians. Of course, you become a Nigerian.
The only exception is for people that naturalized.
Yes, if you now became a naturalized Nigerian, there has to be a special dispensation for you to vote. You know, I mean, probably as to the number of years you've lived in Nigeria and all that, paying your taxes within Nigeria, within the shores of Nigeria and all that. There has to be a special dispensation. But voting, of course, is for Nigerians who are proper, real Nigerians by birth, parentage, and of course, as to where they come from.
Now, let's quickly talk about absentee voting. That's people living in diaspora. Do you think they should be allowed to vote?
Ordinarily, Nigerians living abroad should be able to vote. But let me say something. Do we have the logistics? Do we have the capacity to make such people vote? No, we don't. Even locally, we're having issues registering voters, giving them PVCs, making sure they are not underage voters, and the rest of it. Just for 1 second, imagine if you were to now open that to Nigerians who live in America, in the Americas, and the rest of it, in Britain. There'll be a lot of issues, and I think we have enough problem to cope with, having only Nigerians within Nigeria vote right now, than for us to now include other Nigerians who are not living within Nigeria. I think we have enough problems coping right now, and for the problems of logistics, and of course for other issues, I think we're better off not having people in diaspora vote.
All right, I would also want to ask this, the right of prisoners to vote. Do you think prisoners should be allowed to vote?
Yes, prisoners should be able to vote. Awaiting trial, people should also be able to vote.
The right goes hand in hand. If you can vote, you should be voted for. So if they can vote, then they should be voted for.
The prison walls, as such, they are regulated. It's unlike other areas. Prison walls are regulated. They are Nigerians. They should not be discriminated against. The Constitution provides that no Nigerian should be discriminated against, either on the grounds of sex, religion, or whatever. So if you say that a prisoner cannot vote, and he is within the shores of Nigeria, then I think that would be an abuse of the constitutional provisions that the law has already given them. They did something and they lost that right.
So why can't they lose the right to vote?
They can't. That's the point I'm making. They can't lose the right to vote, but they have the right to vote, because we're talking about discrimination on the grounds of being somebody in prison. They cannot. They should be able to vote. That right should be protected. You know how many prisoners we have. It cannot be manipulated. Although, don't put it past the Nigerian politician, but it can. Hardly, it will be difficult to manipulate it and say, okay, when we had 2,000 prisoners, now suddenly they become 20,000. I think that is majorly the reason why a lot of people will say to you that prisoners should not be allowed to vote, because of the possibility of manipulation.
Now, quickly, let's talk about the qualification to be voted for. I know recently several political parties have taken INEC to court as regards the disqualification of their candidate and even political parties. What are the qualifications to be voted for?
The qualification that runs across from the House of Assembly to the presidency is for you to have read up to at least school certificate level. And please mark the words, read up to at least school certificate level. The law does not say that you need to have passed school certificates. I have a case in point. There's a case of Ikuomola against Ige. It's a matter we did up to the Court of Appeal. I think 1992 is reported, Nigeria Weekly Law reports, whereby Mr. Ikuomola, I think, went to Ife, 2-1, nice degree and the rest of it. And the Ige, who was our client, just did school cert. In fact, he had F9 parallel, and he had only just one pass, P8. And the contention of Mr. Ikuomola was that Mr. Ige was not qualified to contest for election to go into the Lagos State House of Assembly. We did that matter up to the Court of Appeal. The court held that reading up to at least school certificate level or its equivalent does not mean that you should pass school certificates. It says read up to. That is the provision of the law. And in fact, there's something even more curious. The definition section of the Constitution went further to say that if you even read the first school leaving certificate, up to first school leaving certificate, and you now worked either in private or public sector for 10 years, you are also qualified to vote.
And you agree?
That is what the law says, not about what I agree. But if you ask me about what I agree, I think for you to become president of Nigeria, for you to become a governor, for you to become a senator, please, I'm stating the positions for a purpose. For you to become governor, president, senator, House of Rep member, you must, I think you must, my opinion, you must have a first degree or its equivalent.
Does high academic qualification translate to excellent leadership?
It doesn't. But you see, it doesn't necessarily translate to good performance. It doesn't necessarily. But I must tell you that you need education to be able to appreciate, the issues of governance. You need education to be able to function as a president. For instance, I was looking through all the presidents of America, United States of America. I think Obama is the 44th president of America. Looking through, I saw that at least 75% of them are lawyers. Go and check. 75% of the 44 presidents that have ruled the United States of America were lawyers. What does that tell you? And others are in other disciplines and the rest of it. Some are former military men and all that. But I'm saying that where we copied from, they appreciate the fact that you need to have sound education for you to be able to appreciate the issues that go with governance, for you to be able to function as a president of Nigeria. You need a first degree. That is my opinion, and I think it tallies with the opinion of other reasonable people. The Constitution has to be amended. Take steps to amend the provisions of the Constitution that says that it has to be up to at least school certificate level. If that is done, the National Assembly, they should take steps, amend the Constitution, and we're there.
Finally, the use of the card readers. Considering the fact that we had elections in Ekiti, we had elections in Osun, these card readers were not used for a test run, possibly. Do you think they should be used now for the general elections?
Card readers, I think, are for the purposes of verifying and authenticating your PVC. To that extent, I think they should be used. I've also heard that you had 59% success in the biometrics. I mean, confirmation of biometrics. That is a problem. If you cannot confirm your biometrics, I wonder why you want to use it. But I must say that the advantages, the things going for the usage of the card reader are far more than those things going against the card reader. And if you ask me, card reader should be used.
Never has it been more the duty and responsibility of Nigerians to ensure that their express wishes of the ballot boxes are transparently, fairly, honestly and truthfully represented in the results that are announced in all the elections they participate in. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. My name is Victoria Ido. Till I see you again next week, be good.